I'm the one that initiated this divorce. After being married for 18 years, my ex-husband did not want the divorce, but I knew that we were in a bad situation. It wasn't going to get better, and somebody had to do something.
I hate being fucking married. I long for the day to be single again.
I didn't realize how unhappy I was until I stopped being unhappy.
A woman walks away from her marriage after 18 years. She left because she was unhappy. But unhappy with what? That's the question. And perhaps most importantly, what message does this send to men? Because if a man can spend years building a family, providing, staying loyal, doing everything he believes he's supposed to do, only to hear, "I'm just not happy," why wouldn't more men become hesitant about marriage and long-term commitments? Today we're going to look at the stories, the patterns, the regrets, and what could explain why so many women become unhappy in marriages that appear stable from the outside. What exactly are these women searching for? Let's get into it.
This video is for all of the unhappily married women who are considering divorce. Go ahead and get that process started. Yep, just going to jump right on into it. Get the process started. Not only because life is too short to be married to somebody and miserable like that, but also because we know that they're going after no-fault divorce. And there's no telling how that is going to impact the divorce process. And I would hate for you to finally get the gumption to divorce their ass when it's too late. So why not do it now? This is your sign. You're welcome. And if you can't start the process right now, whether it's because of finances or where you all are in life, then start the process to get to a point where you can start the process to divorce their ass. Every day you spend not actively working towards getting up out of that relationship is a day you spend in a relationship with somebody you don't like. Life is too short for that. So stop complaining to your girlfriends about it. They're tired of hearing it at this point. And let's do something about it, girl. Go get that divorce.
When I first started telling people I was separating or separated and divorced, people would always say like, "Oh, did he hit you? Did he abuse you?" Bitch, no. I didn't go through that. Now, some people do. For me, it was a literal like marriage death by 1,000 cuts. It was small things every single day over the course of years that led to separating and divorcing.
I hate being fucking married. I long for the day to be single again. The only thing that's causing me to stay and stick it out is because I've been a housewife for 10 years. And to get back out there in the workforce with a mental illness, there's some fears that I have. But I literally do hate being married. So y'all know how I say that I always use my content to push my pain into purpose, make y'all laugh. A lot of this pain is connected to my marriage. A lot of it. I just try my hardest not to put it out there, and I'm still not going to go into details. But just know that this shit is not fucking gold. And no matter how much I try, no matter what I do, at the end of the day, I still just want the fuck out. I want to be single. I know I can love myself better alone than anybody can love me with them. I love who I am, but I do not love who I am with this person. I hate being fucking married. And on my life, once this shit is over, I would never fucking get married again.
Sweetie, thank you for sharing your post. I went back and asked some ladies, just like you talked to your mama. I went back and asked some ladies that were older than me. I told you, one lady told me straight up. She said the best day of her marriage was the day that he died. She said she hated that man. It's a lot of women out here that's done with marriage. All wives are not happy.
Women tend to be more unhappily married than men. Guys often think everything's fine.
As a married woman who's been with my husband now for 15 years, it's true. Getting married and having kids, I lost myself. When you think back to the older generation, even think about the TV shows that we was watching. Think about Good Times or Leave It to Beaver. What was the mother? What was the wife? She was just a stay-at-home mom who cooked, clean, put the kids' needs before hers, put her husband's needs before hers, made sure everybody was taken care of. She had nothing else going on outside of home. That's the biggest mistake you could ever make in marriage. And that's why I was so miserable in the beginning of mine. I went from being independent, doing everything on my own, making good money, to having a husband and kids. My whole life just stopped. Everything stopped. And it felt like everything just continued on with his, right? So I became angry. I knew I was bitter. I had a lot of like resentment, and I took it out on him. I was miserable in my marriage.
I knew when I really started to focus on my happiness. I feel like women, we tend to focus on everybody else's happiness, making sure that everybody else is okay. But at the end of the day, it's about self-love.
If you listened carefully to these women, what they didn't say was louder than what they did say. Not at any point did any one of these women say, her husband abused her, cheated on her, was violent, was addicted to drugs, or abandoned his family. In fact, they don't give any specific reason at all. What they tell us instead is, I hate being married, I want out, I want to be single again, I'm unhappy. Now, before anybody jumps into conclusions, I am not saying people should stay in bad marriages, men or women. If there is abuse, infidelity, violence, or genuine dysfunction, that's a completely different conversation. But that's not the conversation these women are having. The reason they are giving is unhappiness, and that's what I find fascinating. Because unhappiness has become one of the most powerful justifications women use in modern relationships. Think about this. For most of human history, marriage was viewed as a commitment that would experience seasons, right? Good seasons, bad seasons, exciting seasons, boring seasons. But somewhere along the way, many women began treating happiness not as a feeling that comes and goes, but as a primary purpose of marriage itself. No one stays happy all the time. No career does that. No friendship does that. No marriage does that. Yet increasingly, we are hearing, I am not happy, and somehow that single sentence is expected to explain the destruction of a marriage that may have taken 10, 15, or 20 years to build. So the question becomes why? Why are so many women willing to walk away from marriages that survived the hardest years?
One thing men don't know about women is that the power terrifies us, especially if we don't feel connected to you, because we're afraid to use it against us. If we feel connected to you, then we're happy you're happy. If we don't, it's scary. And this is why women attack men when they're happy.
Women attack men when men are happy?
Mm-hmm.
What's an example? Oh, like sports.
Exactly. Ugh, he's so full of himself. And they'll do something to take him down.
So wait, why do women do that?
Because happiness and power comes together in a man's body, and the power is scary. And so we have to diminish the power. So we will attack them when they're happy. They come home, they caught a big fish, or whatever it was they did. If it wasn't something that I did that gave you that feeling, then that's a problem.
You're more excited to go out with your friends.
It's supposed to make you happy.
Why do you seem so happy to go on a trip with your friends? You don't seem as happy to go on a trip with me.
Yeah.
The relationship expert Alison Armstrong says that women often attack men when those men are happy, because male happiness and power combined can feel, threatening when a woman does not feel connected or deeply connected to the man. According to her, when a man is fulfilled, content, and enjoying life, especially when the woman is not the source of that happiness, it can trigger feelings of insecurity, irrelevance, or disconnection. Now, whether you agree with Alison Armstrong or not, I think she's pointing to something worth exploring. Could this help answer a question that has puzzled many men for years? Why do so many women walk away from marriages simply because they're unhappy? Could it be that when a man finally reaches a place of stability, contentment, and peace, some women interpret that not as success, but as distance, as boredom? Happy wife, happy life. That's a cliche that has been going around since forever. The reality is that some women learn entitlement and selfishness from childhood, and they carry it into adulthood. So could this also be partly why there seems to be an incessant need for women to invade and dominate male spaces? They are in the gyms, they are in the clubs, they're in the game rooms, and sometimes it doesn't even stop after a relationship ends. After divorce, she's still checking your social media, still watching, from a distance, still wanting to know whether you have moved on and found happiness. The question just keeps coming. You see, I'm thrilled when my husband finds something that makes him happy. His contentment brings me peace of mind. I am grateful when he's not stressed, burdened, or constantly worrying about life challenges. I am happy to see him achieve his goals, enjoy his hobbies, and find fulfillment in the things he loves. That's what marriage is all about.
The other reason why, men are not getting married today is because now we're finding out that women don't really give a fuck about a man's happiness.
They don't. But so me being married, this is why I'm still married. Not just because I got 2 kids with my wife, but at the same time, we're married because my wife said something to me that no female has ever said, probably will never say. And baby, if you see this, the cat's out the bag. But anyway, she said, happy husband, happy life. And I said, yeah.
That's the one.
That's wifey.
Yeah.
She's the one.
And that's all it takes. And it's not like I'm going to be happy all the time and you're sacrificing your happiness. It's like when I'm happy, everybody's going to be happy.
Exactly.
Because I already endure the times
So
when...
much.
Exactly. I endure. So I take on the unhappiness and the work and the decision making and all
I'll
that.
say this. Keep me happy within the household. I don't give a fuck about the outside.
That's it.
I gotta come home to fucking a war zone, and when I got a war zone to fight outside, when I'm gonna ever have peace?
Look,
Now, men also experience unhappiness in marriage. Men experience insecurity. Men experience fear. Men experience uncertainty. Men have moments where, they question whether they make the right choice. Men have moments where they feel trapped, unappreciated, or emotionally exhausted. Yet you rarely see men running to social media announcing that they are unhappy and therefore ready to blow up their entire family. If men experience unhappiness too, why are they often less likely to leave? Because men don't think just about themselves. They think about the consequences. They think about what happens to the children. They think about what happens to the family home. They think about the financial fallout. They think about the emotional destruction left behind for everyone involved, especially the kids. Many men understand that ending a marriage doesn't just affect 2 adults, it creates a ripple effect that touches every member of that family. That's why a lot of men stay and try to make it work, even when they are unhappy. In fact, many men remain in marriages with difficult, disrespectful, or even unbearable wives because they believe their responsibilities to their children outweighs their own personal happiness. Now, are there exceptions? Of course there are. There are men who walk away. There are men who abandon their families. There are men who initiate divorce. Nobody's denying that. But exceptions don't make the rule. But then I know some women will say, well, the women you are talking about are exceptions too. You're just finding a few clips on social media. Fair point. Except the divorce statistics tells a different story. If these were merely isolated cases, we wouldn't see women initiating the overwhelming majority of divorces. We wouldn't see the same themes repeated over and over again. We wouldn't see story after story of men being blindsided by divorce after years or even decades of marriage. This discussion is not coming from a handful of viral clips. The clips simply illustrate a pattern that already exists. But what happens when the woman leaves anyway?
Divorce is brutal. It is brutal. I really thought that I was prepared for it. I was not. That was really hard.
I'm sitting in court trying to finalize my divorce. It's horrible. It's horrible that you spend so many years with somebody and it can get to this.
I'm feeling really scared. I wasn't looking to be alone at 48.
If you have spent any amount of time watching these clips like I have done over the last 24 hours, you will notice something interesting. A lot of the regret stories sound remarkably similar. I thought I would be happier. I thought there was something better out there. Reality eventually hits these women because it's one thing to imagine life after divorce, is another thing to live it. Now, after divorce, the first thing many women run into is into the dating market itself. When they were married, they often assumed they had options, lots of options. After all, social media is full of attention. These women eventually discover that being desired and being chosen are two different things. The men who seemed interested while she was married are now nowhere to be found. The excitement fades, and suddenly the dating market does not look quite the way it did from the outside. Then comes loneliness, real loneliness. Not the kind you feel when you're sitting next to your husband after disagreement, the kind that greets you when the house is quiet, when the children are not there, when nobody's asking how your day went, when there's no familiar voice in the next room, when holidays arrive, birthdays arrive, family gatherings arrive, and the life you once had is now a memory. Many women begin to miss the stability they once took for granted. That same stability that felt boring, predictable, threatening, and ordinary. Funny enough, it's often only after all that is gone that women realize how valuable it was. And then the hardest realization of all, one, a woman may never admit to herself she misses the man.
Do I miss my ex husband? Absolutely.
So let's return to the original question. Why are so many women unhappy in marriages that appear stable from the outside? Is it boredom? Is it unrealistic expectations? Is it the modern woman's obsession with personal fulfillment? I'll let you decide. But one thing becomes very clear after watching these stories. Many of the women who walked away were not running from abuse, they were not running from violence, they were chasing happiness. And for many, the happiness they were chasing never arrived because the grass wasn't greener on the other side. In many cases, there was no grass, just dry land. And if a man can spend 20 years building a family only to hear, I'm just not happy, should we really be surprised that more men are becoming hesitant about marriage and long term commitment? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.